There are two kinds of guys who think they're winning at dating. Only one of them actually is. The other one is about to get blindsided in a month, maybe two, and he won't see it coming. Today I'm giving you the 4 signs that separate the guy who's actually winning from the guy who just thinks he is. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which one you are. Because here's the uncomfortable part. Most guys measure winning by the wrong scoreboard. More matches, more numbers saved, more "we should do this again" texts. But those aren't wins. Those are just noise. And noise feels good, right up until the moment she goes quiet on you for no reason you can explain. I spent 2 years chasing that noise. Full calendar, phone buzzing constantly, a highlight reel that would make most guys jealous. So why did it all fall apart every single time, right when things should have been getting serious? I didn't have an answer. Not until I went back and broke down over 100 of my own conversations, date by date, looking for the pattern nobody teaches you to look for. That's when I found it. The dates that felt the most successful in the moment were almost never the ones that turned into anything real. But the ones where I felt a flicker of doubt, a little uncertainty about whether she was even that into me, those were the ones that lasted. That single discovery is what this whole video is built on, and it's going to change how you read every date you've ever been on. Researchers who study human attraction keep circling back to the same idea. People don't crave what's handed to them. They crave what they have to work for a little. So if every single date goes perfectly, that's not always the green flag you think it is. Sometimes it's the first warning sign and you won't clock it until she's already gone. But before we get into sign number 1, I broke all of this down, every pattern, every red flag, every moment I used to miss, into a book called The Truth Detector. It's built to help you spot the difference between a woman who's genuinely locking in and one who's just enjoying the attention before you waste months finding out the hard way. First link in the description gets you the fast version of everything I'm about to teach you here. Now, sign number 1. It starts with a date I almost didn't think twice about. On paper, it was flawless. She laughed, she leaned in, she said the words every guy wants to hear before she got out of the car. But there was one moment right at the very end of that night, one 3-second window that told me everything I needed to know. Most guys miss it completely, and once I show you what it was, you're never going to miss it again. She said the line everyone wants to hear, "We should do this again," but she said it while already reaching for the door handle, not after. Not while looking at me, while reaching for the door. Most guys would have heard those words and mentally filed the date under win. I almost did too, but something in my gut caught it, that split-second gap between what her mouth said and what her hands were doing. So I sat with that feeling instead of brushing it off. And here's what I eventually figured out. Words are cheap on a first or second date. Anybody can say the right thing. A woman who's actually locking in doesn't just tell you she wants to see you again. She shows you in ways she's not even fully aware she's doing. That's sign number 1. Winning isn't about what she says at the end of the night. It's about whether she starts doing things for you that you never asked for. Think about the last time a woman actually liked you, really liked you, not just enjoyed your company for 2 hours. She probably texted you first sometimes. She remembered something small you mentioned once, your coworker's name, the fact that you hate cilantro, and brought it up later like it was nothing. She made a little effort to look good for you, not because you demanded it, but because some part of her wanted to. None of that is an accident. Psychologists who study relationships have a name for this. They call it costly signaling. The idea is simple. People show real interest by spending something, time, effort, attention, energy, not by saying nice things, because nice things cost nothing. So here's the uncomfortable flip side. If you're the only one spending, the only one texting first, planning the date, remembering the little details, doing all the emotional labor to keep things moving, you are not winning. You're funding a relationship that only one of you is actually in. I didn't want to believe this at first, because on paper, my calendar was full. But when I actually went back through those 100+ conversations I told you about, the pattern was brutal. In almost every relationship that fizzled, I was the one initiating 80–90% of the contact. I told myself I was just being proactive. Really, I was carrying the whole thing on my back and calling it a relationship. Here's a question for you. Think about the woman you're seeing right now, or the last one you dated seriously. Who texts first more often? Who suggests the next date? If it's almost always you, sit with that for a second, because that's not a small detail. That's the whole scoreboard. Now, I'm not saying a woman has to text first every single time or she's not interested. That's not how real people work, and this isn't a math formula. But therefore you're looking for a pattern, not a single data point. One night where you initiate means nothing. A month where she never does, that's a signal, and it's usually louder than anything she'll ever say out loud. This is exactly the kind of thing I break down in the truth detector, because catching this pattern early saves you months of confusion later. It's the difference between spotting the disinterest in week 2 instead of getting blindsided by it in month 4. If you want the full breakdown, it's linked below. So that's sign 1, she spends on you without being asked. But there's a second sign that's even sneakier, one that actually looks like rejection on the surface, and most guys read it completely backwards. In fact, it's the exact moment most men panic and ruin everything. Picture this, you text her something normal, nothing crazy, just a "Hey, how was your day?" And instead of the fast reply you're used to, you get nothing. An hour goes by, then 3. Then it's the next morning and you're staring at a read receipt with no response under it. Your brain starts doing what brains do. She's losing interest. She met someone else. You messed something up on the last date and you don't even know what it was. So you do the thing almost every guy does in that moment. You send a follow-up text. Maybe 2. Maybe you throw in a joke to lighten the mood, or worse, you ask if everything's okay. But here's what you just told her without saying a single word. You told her that her silence controls you, that she can go quiet and watch you scramble. And once she learns that, some part of her will keep testing it, not even on purpose, just because she now knows the reaction she gets when she pulls back. So here's sign number 2, and it's going to sound backwards at first. A woman going quiet for a day or 2 is not automatically a bad sign. Sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes it means she's actually let her guard down enough to stop performing for you. Think about it. In the beginning, when someone's trying to make a good impression, they reply fast. They're on. That's effort mode. But real comfort looks different. Real comfort looks like her feeling safe enough to live her life without narrating every hour of it to you. A woman who trusts that you'll still be there tomorrow doesn't feel the need to prove it to you today. I learned this the hard way with someone I dated for about 4 months. Early on, replies came in minutes. Then, a few weeks in, they started slowing down. Hours sometimes. I panicked, obviously. I did the thing every guy does. I sent that follow-up text, checking if she was mad at me. She wasn't mad. She actually asked me later why I seemed so nervous, because in her head, nothing had changed. She just felt comfortable enough to not be glued to her phone around me anymore. That conversation rearranged how I saw the whole situation, because comfort and interest are not opposites, but panic makes them look like opposites, and panic is what makes guys destroy something that was actually going fine. Now, I want to be careful here, because there's a real difference between comfortable silence and someone quietly checking out, and mixing those two up is exactly how guys either overreact to nothing or underreact to something real. The comfortable version has a pattern to it. She goes quiet sometimes, but she still initiates eventually. She still brings energy when she does show up, and the silence never comes with a cold or distant tone once she's back. The checking out version feels different. Replies get shorter, not just slower. Plans get vague instead of confirmed. And when she does respond, something in the tone has changed. Less warmth, more obligation. Here's a small exercise. Next time she goes quiet longer than usual, don't reach for your phone to fix it. Just notice how you feel in that gap. That feeling, that itch to check your phone every 10 minutes, that's the thing actually running your dating life right now, not her. That itch is also exactly why I wrote The Truth Detector, because the second guessing is almost worse than actual rejection. Knowing which kind of silence you're dealing with, comfortable or checked out, changes everything about how you respond, and it's laid out step by step in the book if you want to stop guessing and start reading it right. So comfort with distance is sign 2. But sign 3 is the one that trips up even guys who think they've got this whole thing figured out, because it shows up disguised as something that feels like losing. She pushes back on something you say. Not big, not dramatic, just a small disagreement. Maybe you make a joke and she doesn't laugh, she actually challenges it. Maybe you suggest a restaurant and she says she'd rather go somewhere else. And something in your chest tightens, because you've been trained by every dating video on the internet to think pushback means she's losing interest. So you fold. You laugh it off, agree with her, change the plan, smooth it over as fast as you can. You think you just saved the date, but you actually just told her something about yourself that you didn't mean to say. Here's sign number 3. A woman who disagrees with you, who pushes back a little, who has an actual opinion that doesn't match yours, that's not rejection. That's the opposite. That's her treating you like someone worth being honest with. Think about who you push back against in your own life. Strangers? No. You're polite to strangers, agreeable, low effort because you don't care enough to bother. But your closest friend, your brother, the people who actually matter to you, you argue with them. You tell them when you think they're wrong. Disagreement takes energy, and people don't spend energy on someone they've already mentally checked out of. I dated a woman once who disagreed with almost everything I said in our first 3 weeks. Movie picks, dinner spots, even my opinion on some dumb pop culture thing. My friend at the time told me to drop her, said she sounded difficult, said a woman who agreed with everything would be easier, but therefore I noticed something. She disagreed, but she never once cancelled a date, never once went cold, never once stopped texting. She just had a spine, and it turned out that was one of the best relationships I've ever been in because I never had to guess what she actually thought about anything. Compare that to a different woman, one who agreed with every single thing I said for 2 months straight. Every plan, every opinion, every joke, she was always instantly on board. I thought I'd found the easiest, smoothest connection of my life. But then one random Tuesday, she just stopped replying. No fight, no warning, nothing, because there was nothing real holding it together in the first place. Agreement without friction isn't closeness. It's often just distance wearing a nice outfit. This is where a lot of guys get it backwards, and honestly, it's not really their fault, because everything around us teaches men that a smooth, agreeable woman equals a good outcome. But smooth isn't the same as invested. A woman who never disagrees with you might just be someone who's decided you're not worth the conversation. Now, I'm not telling you to go looking for arguments, and I'm not saying every disagreement is secretly a compliment. There's a difference between a woman who challenges you because she's engaged and a woman who's just critical or difficult for its own sake, and you'll know the difference by how it feels afterward. Real pushback from someone invested still feels warm underneath it. The other kind leaves you feeling small, and that's worth paying attention to as well. Here's something to try. Next time she disagrees with you on something small, don't fold immediately. Just hold your position calmly without making it a fight. Watch what happens to her energy in that moment. In my experience, it usually goes up, not down. So that's sign 3, she's honest with you, even when it's inconvenient. But there's a 4th sign, and it's the biggest one, the one that actually predicts whether this whole thing turns into something real or quietly falls apart in a few months. And it has almost nothing to do with her at all. It has to do with you, and something most guys never think to check. Here's the question nobody asks themselves. Not, is she into me? But who am I when I'm around her? Because that's the sign that actually matters most, and it's the one almost every guy skips completely while he's busy analyzing her texting patterns. Think back to the version of you before you started seeing her. Were you more relaxed back then or more relaxed now? Were you making plans with your friends, hitting the gym, chasing goals that had nothing to do with her? Or has your whole week started quietly rearranging itself around her availability? Here's sign number 4, and it's the one that predicts everything else on this list. You're actually winning when she adds to your life instead of becoming your whole life. I know a guy, good friend of mine, who met someone and within 3 weeks had basically vanished. Stopped showing up to our Sunday runs, stopped replying in the group chat. His whole personality became about her. What she said, what she might be thinking, what her last text really meant. And I watched that relationship from the outside like watching a car slowly drift off a road. It wasn't dramatic, it was just a slow leak, week by week, until there wasn't much of him left in it. Here's why that matters so much. Attraction isn't just about her feelings toward you. It's also about your own sense of self, and whether that self is still standing on its own 2 feet or leaning entirely on her. Researchers studying relationship dynamics have found something worth remembering here. The people who maintain their own identity, friendships, and goals inside a relationship tend to have stronger, longer-lasting connections than the ones who dissolve completely into the other person. Losing yourself doesn't make you more lovable. It just makes you less interesting to be around, even if nobody says that part out loud. So here's the real test. Are you still going to the gym, or has that turned into I'll go later because she wants to hang out? Are you still calling your friends back, or have they started asking where you disappeared to? Are you still working toward the thing you cared about 6 months ago? Or has all of that quietly gone on pause while you wait to see what she does next? This one hit me the hardest out of everything I found when I went back through my own patterns. In every relationship that ended badly, I could point to the exact week I stopped doing something that used to matter to me. Not because she asked me to stop, I just did it myself, slowly, without noticing, because she'd become the main event and everything else became background noise. But therefore, here's the paradox nobody tells you. The version of you that she was originally attracted to is the version with a life outside of her. So the more of that life you give up to keep her happy, the less of the actual man she liked is left standing there. You can't hand someone a relationship built on a person you've already erased. This is genuinely the deepest layer of everything in the truth detector, because knowing the 4 signs doesn't help much if you've already lost yourself chasing them. The book walks through how to hold on to who you are while you're building something real with someone, so you're not the guy quietly disappearing from his own life without noticing. First link in the description if you want to go deeper than what one video can cover. So there they are. She spends on you without being asked. She's comfortable enough to go quiet. She's honest enough to disagree with you. And you're still fully yourself while she's in your life, not underneath it. Notice all 4, and you're not hoping you're winning. You'll know it. You don't win at dating by getting more of her attention. You win by never losing yourself trying to get it. Like and subscribe for more.